Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip here with not Jeff. Jeff is not here today. He's has some things going on with the family today. Family always comes first. Today we're going to talk a little bit about XRPL tokenization. We're going to also dive a little bit into what's going on with Trump saving the U.S. steel industry. Yet again, did a lot in his first term, but he's doing other things, bringing industry back here. As well. And then also we're going to talk about Uphold making an announcement about doing staking, which would be interesting to see how that's going to work with XRP. So let's see how that's going to work. They have announced it. They have not released it yet, but let's get ready to go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
So here we are at On the Chain. That's right, On the Chain. Welcome everybody coming in here, stumbling in here. Everybody, welcome to the Purple Ferret. He says that he's hello from the United Kingdom, living in 1984, making a reference to Orwell's book 1984. And I've always said that when I was younger, and it was a must read when you had, I think it was a high school must read, and I read it, I thought, okay, this is so preposterous. This is so, even as a kid, a teenager thinking like it's so blatantly like this could never happen. It's so ridiculous. I mean, not that I didn't have some esteem for what the book said, but and talking about it and having dialogues in literature class and people saying like, well, this could happen someday. And I just felt like, well, it was a great novel. It was really dystopian, sort of a future look. And it was basically a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of what was to come, which I make the joke often with the Ministry of Truth. Which is listed in the book, and we have plenty of those ministries all over every sort of government that exists today. So yeah, welcome in. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to talk about Reform UK a little bit today in our geopolitics segment later in the show, so we'll get into that. Welcome Zober, Chad, always greetings from Celebration. What a great place to live, celebrate good times. Ed is in here. He says he's down with OTC. Please hit that like and slam those likes. He's saying hit and slam the likes. And I'll tell you guys, it always does help the channel. Believe it or not, the more you like it, because what happened is like we'll have 100 people plus in here, and then we'll have another couple hundred people on X, and we'll, between Jeff and I, and then we get another 600-700 people listen. Actually, more people listen than watch, which is interesting. But our podcast viewers, which we love, and we also love the podcast listeners, which is audio only. And we're available on all the major platforms. Sometimes people will be in their car. They just want to listen. They miss the show. They want to just listen into what's going on. You don't always have to see everything. Sometimes things don't make sense, especially if they're highly visual. I do my best to describe them because I remember that there are a lot of listeners. So I want to do the best to do that too. But hit that like. It does help. A lot of people come in here and they never hit it. So, that's one of the weird sort of things that transpire over time. My voice might sound a little bit different, a little bit under the weather. I don't know. Something kind of hit me yesterday, and my voice was a lot worse yesterday, so it's good that that I'm doing it. It's not good that I'm carrying the whole show without Jeff because A, it's a lot more work, and B, it's a lot not as much fun. But you guys always make it worth it, and so we'll do our best to stumble through what's going on. Jim D, good rainy morning, yeah, rain, man. So rain is always well, it's a good thing. It makes everything a little bit greener. But yeah, why on the weekend all the time? Is it? It seems like to choose the rain, have these rainy sort of days and periods. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll get through it today. I do want to say that there's not going to be a Yeti drawing today, but we'll probably end up doing 2 tomorrow. But just, like I said, the show becomes a lot more lift when Jeff's not around. And so Jeff does handle that piece of it, but we'll get back to it today. And I just ran out of time, even though I got up super early today to do finish the show prep. Was up at 5:30 a.m. here in Florida time, whatever, Eastern time. So that's what it is. No Yeti today, Yeti's tomorrow. So if you want to leave now, get out of here. I'm just kidding. Stay for it. It'll be fun. I'll keep you company while Jeff's absent. Well, I'll send you a link and you can jump in and we can do this together if you want. If you're interested, Crypto Eddie, I'd love to have a co-host on this whole thing to kind of talk through some of these things. You don't have to stay for the politics section, but if you want to do if you're in a place to be able to join, you can join in, and we'll do we'll run through some of the stories I have today, which are mostly in and around XRPL, Ripple, and some things other things that are going on. So I'd be happy to if you'd want to jump in and just do last minute, fill in, that would be fantastic. But let me know and I will send you the link. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll send it to you right now. How do you like that? And if you want to join, great. If you don't, I totally understand. It's super late there. I think it's after midnight, if I'm not mistaken. So I understand that you're probably winding down and not in the mood for jumping on a stream, which, that can always be taxing. But if you do want to, and I'm saying if, I'm going to go ahead and send it to you anyway. Let me just click in here. And where is that? It's funny when I'm sharing a screen, I can't see it here. There you go. I sent it to you. I DM'd it to you. So there you go. You have it. If you care to join. If you don't, then we're all good. Everything's good. It's all good. But since she said it, I'm saying it. So I'm asking. So yeah, there you have it. So here we go. Let's go. I want to jump into this first story right here. Oh yeah, if you have breaking news, can you come in and do the breaking news bit? You're always breaking all the news. By the way, if you notice, half of the things we talk about on the chain is in thanks to your let me put my headphones on here. All right, looks like we're getting a special guest today, people. I mean, this is exciting. Just got to go ahead and I see that says your device isn't connected. Is that because you don't want to connect that, or is that because I don't want to put you in if it says device is not connected? You probably have to authorize the audio and the video portion of it. If you don't want to do video, I completely understand. But if you want to do the audio, you're gonna have to connect it, because I'm seeing it showing up as no connected. You got to connect your microphone and your camera. And once we get into that, we can go ahead and jump in. Well, Chad's hoping it's a rug-free Saturday. Well, somebody's getting rugged today. I mean, somewhere, someplace, sometime, somewhere in this world, somebody is getting rugged today. And it's a sad thing. The other thing is somebody's probably, believe it or not, after all the education we do, after all that you hear on X, somebody's probably sharing their private keys with somebody as we speak right now or sometime today. It's a sad thing, but it happens way more often than it should. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put you in here. Are you there?
Yeah, I am definitely here. Can you hear me?
I totally hear you. Yeah. So I understand if you don't want to go on camera, that's totally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm dressed and everything, but it's late.
You're just hanging out with the cats and they're just like, you're your PJs, because it is late, I mean.
Yeah, I got off a very long 3-hour business call, and then
wow,
the breaking news came through for Linqto. So I did that little bit of a graphic to support that, and looks pretty bad. It looks like an orchestrated bankruptcy of sorts. There's all types of different bankruptcies, but this one looks like maybe an orchestrated reorganizational one, where if they've drained all the capital, they will go after the unrealized gains of the SPVs. That's the big concern in that press release. So the people who own those financial instruments, the special purpose vehicles, they would take a haircut on the value, because let's just say a strike price on a lot of those I think there's 11,000 people holding Ripple shares on the Linqto platform. So you can imagine a lot of them got in very early when it was selling at $35, $40, $45. So their strike price is very low. And the last Ripple led, it's not a buyback. They've got another term for it. What is it? Tender offer. The last tender offer was at $125. So you've got this, let's just say you have a $35 average price on the shares that you own, but yet it really has a real book value that is a real value, not just a one that you're pulling out of the sky, but one that's actually been paid to people at 125. That's a huge amount of difference, right? And so what that company can do, who came in and threw out the old executives, is that they would be able to, through very fancy bankruptcy reorganizational type structuring, I'm not saying they're doing this. I'm just saying that, there's many ways these big high flying attorneys that specialize in this kind of stuff, like Simon and Cromwell, can do. They'll sell those SPVs when they transfer the company into a new entity, and then they will take that money out of the unrealized gains, and they will then, of course, the person who's owning those shares is going to get a reduced value in what they originally thought they held, because that's what they do in those kinds of, very fancy, protected, carefully loopholed, legal, but crazy kind of legal world for those attorneys like you find at the firm of Sullivan and Cromwell, who seem to be pretty expert at that.
Indeed, they do. And what's interesting, though, if you're saying it's Chapter 7 would be liquidation, Chapter 11 is a reorg. I did spend way too many years in the bankruptcy space, but mostly on the residential real estate side.
Yeah.
But also some businesses too. But it's not. Are you saying it's did they come out and say Chapter 7 or?
So what they've done is they've shut down all the retail platform operations. So that's a fact. They've terminated like more than 70% of the workforce. So that's a fact. They have retained multiple attorneys, including bankruptcy specialists. That's a fact. They have rapidly drawn down the company reserves, significantly reducing available capital. That's a fact. And they have, according to the Free Linqto group, they've repeatedly misrepresented the regulatory landscape to justify operational paralysis, citing that the SEC's restrictions but don't exist. So that would be something that would be probably fought out in a court of law. And, you're talking about years again of fighting this kind of thing in the courts. And, the bad thing is I understand this group is trying to protect their investment. I totally understand that. And they've got Narioff, who I know, you've had him on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephen Narioff is going to, I think, lead the charge on the legal side. And if they, I don't know, this is me speaking. So if you force a rat into a corner, make them fight, it seems like, I guess they really don't have a choice, maybe. Because if you force them to fight legally, then it just gets them closer and closer to having to have to sell those SPVs to have enough money to give to the attorneys to fight the case. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the thing about that too is, so if you say like because one of the other, remember when the whistleblower came out, one of the allegations, again, I'll call it an allegation, but one of the allegations was that what they were doing was they kept raising that strike price every single time. So they said they
built it into the alternative trading systems platform where, FINRA gives those dealer brokers a range of what's considered acceptable to sell.
Okay.
And so that guy was saying that they were way above their range of what was acceptable. And that he said it was programmed into their ATL, or what do they call it? ATS, Alternative Trading System. The ATS.
Yes.
Yeah.
And interesting because, if it's in the code, now the thing about Narioff is this guy, he's successfully defended himself, number one, which almost doesn't ever happen. It's interesting that he's coming into this. I don't know if he's a bankruptcy specialist per se, although he may. It's probably his knowledge of the blockchain, and but what doesn't really seem to be a fit here because these early shares, so they're going to have to sell them on the open market. So you're taking what's basically happened is like kind of a different sort of a rug pull. So people that bought it at 35, 50, 60, even 70, for them to be able to sell these on the open market, you're talking about 11,000 holders. It seems like, do we know the actual, like the Ripple sort of early
Yeah,
shares.
3% is held by 3%. Can you believe that? 3% of the float. I guess you'd call it the float, right? Because that's floating, circulating. Well, they're not actually circulating, but I still think it's considered part of the float. 3% of the Ripple shares out there are held by Linqto through those SPVs. That's a lot of shares.
That's a lot of shares. And the way I understand, see, I've never quite understood where those shares come from. I know a lot of, it's a private company, so you're still issued stock, and it also depends on when you were issued it, when it vests. It's very complicated. I've been involved with companies where, I get so many shares a company, then a vesting period happens. It's very different in a public company, the way things vest and when you can sell and when you can't sell. So if you do sell them, a lot of the original people, maybe what moved on from Ripple, but still held shares, they're selling them at a, kind of getting out, right? Because you can't sell them on open market. It's not a public company. But that's the way I understood it, because it's not like Ripple's allocating these early shares.
No, I think maybe, those people, for whatever personal reasons, sold. Maybe they wanted to buy a house. Maybe they had some kids to put through college. Maybe they just got tired of waiting for Ripple to go public. Maybe it was now here's something crazy. I mean, this showed up on Glassdoor, so this isn't me speculating, but Dark Horse found that one employee said that the whole IPO being held back because of the SEC was a big campfire story to get people to sell their shares so that Ripple could pick them up and buy them, because they want the least amount of shares circulating as possible, because that helps them raise the value of their IPO, right? To be as less diluted as possible out there in the marketplace. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that or not, but
I'll be honest with you with Glassdoor. I mean, there's other sites that I check too that's more on there's other ones that are a little bit more inside baseball, because I'm in sales. So there's a bunch of places that I check too. So you always see weird little things. A lot of people are angry because something happened. They got terminated. So I honestly wouldn't even take much of that at heart, because it does sound a little bit, but the one point that you were just mentioning is interesting, because you might see Ripple want to come in and buy all the shares, right? They'll come back.
So the question is, will Ripple come in and be the first buyer to swoop up those? How do those come to market? Is it put out on a public auction?
Usually in an auction. They usually do a public auction where they set a price. That's what they usually do, and then then the bidding starts. But I mean, we know that Ripple can. I mean, what is 3% of a 15 billion? The last one I believe was $15 billion. I mean, somebody will do the math. I'm not a math guy, but you can do it.
Well,
Jim D will probably do it. But
somewhere in my email, I've got an old meaning about a year old, what the circulating supply of the Ripple shares were. I don't even want to take a guess, because I'll probably be off, and then you put numbers out there and people think that it's true and factual, and it's a low number, though. It's not as many as you think it is.
I asked Siri, and she said it was $450 million.
Well, it's not. I'm not talking dollars. I'm talking the actual shares.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, but depending on the value, like for example, if they buy the shares back, those 3% of what's held, 3% of that, because the last valuation was 15 billion. So if they own those shares, those become worth 15. They become worth at least hundreds of millions of dollars.
I don't think you do the math on the value. I think you do the math on how many actual shares are floating out there, not the value.
Right, but I'm saying when the value of the company, that's what will predetermine, and it depends. It depends on it's super complicated, but it depends. I'm just throwing a number out there, but it's probably worth tens of millions of dollars at minimum. Because remember depending on what sort of criteria was around when the shares were issued. If you're earlier in the company, they might be worth more potentially, but also too, I think I'm just saying if 3% of shares are floating on or around there. and then
Here
you
we
got a
go.
15.
I've got it. Okay, I've got an old figure here. Okay, so this is, how old is this? This is June 4th, 2023. It's pretty old. 170,132,845 is the latest number. Yeah, so that's the latest number. So yeah, as of this is a fully diluted shares as of May, and that was their figure at that time. So yeah, so I think the maybe closer to be interesting is to figure out what's 3% of the 170 million.
Right. That makes sense. But I'm saying that ultimately, when those shares go public, you know, I mean, based on what and again, I still don't see a company goes public for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is to raise money, right? We see it with Circle,
Yeah.
right? They need to raise at least $4 to $6 billion. Their business model is not sustainable, especially if interest rates drop, right? I mean,
Well, unless their Circle payments network takes off.
potentially, yeah. I mean, potentially if it takes off, right? Because they're going to charge. They needed a way to monetize, and as soon as I saw that come on, I'm like, they figured out a way to monetize. So they finally have a shot at. But I mean, if 960 million or so goes out to Coinbase and they're making 1.3 billion, it's a pretty small spread right there. To think that there's not a lot of money in it, and because right now they're monetizing off, you know, based on the interest rate. However, I do think that if the payments, I mean, they'll probably have some level degree of success, but that's where Ripple purchasing Circle makes an incredible amount of sense, especially, you know, market share, right?
Yeah, I just think that, you know, they're part of a different camp, and that Circle Coinbase connection camp, mafia, whatever you want to call it, is pretty aligned and strong. And I think there's a lot of people who don't want Ripple to get any more powerful. So I think,
They're worried.
well, I think that's natural human nature, to be honest. You know, when you become too big and you become too control, you know, too much of the ability to sway narrative, and you know, it's just, it's not, I'm not pointing that it's the company Ripple. I think it's anybody in this space. I mean, look at how many times Facebook gets dragged through the mud because they're big, or Amazon or Apple, or you know what I'm saying. You get so big, and people just love to poke you in the butt because you're up
Right.
on the ladder.
Yeah. Well, look at Coinbase. I mean, you know, Brian Armstrong come out recently and talk about, you know, getting hackers, you know, wanting to hold hostage. However, look, we all know people. I mean, I would get DMs from people all the time that they got wiped out on Coinbase, and I would be like, well, this has like been a constant. It's been totally ignored. It's an SEC regulated company where I don't necessarily think it's always happening overseas. They blamed it on the overseas, offshore, this and that, and they didn't have access. Well, no, there are people inside that were doing it as well. There was a lot of people that were orchestrating. Just from what I've heard, just what you heard in the news, like now he comes out and talks about it, which is great that it's being addressed. But this is a massive problem on Coinbase. This is nothing new. We've all known or heard from people that have been liquidated, just disappeared, no recourse, no tech support help, nothing. I mean, it's good that they're making these people whole, but the fact that this has dragged out a long time is very troublesome. And you're talking about a company that is supposed to be regulated by the SEC, but they're not looking into this aspect of it. It's very odd.
Yeah. It's I have a good friend who just lost all their SWI on BitTrue last week. Yeah. And BitTrue says, well, and they even use the word the hackers. The hackers came in, converted to USD Tether, then converted to Tether or ETH, and then ETH out to a wallet. And the wallet's about 7 years old, and now they're saying there's nothing we can do. We're not going to investigate further unless you can get a court order. And on $8,000, which is, you know, a big, nice chunk of change, but not big enough for any regulator or court or FBI or anybody in the enforcement to get excited about. They're not going to do anything. So it's terrible. There's no accountability at all.
There goes the, like, decentralization is what we've been talking about, freedom, decentralization, but there's also no tech support. There's no help. Something happens with your bank, you call somebody, right? Something happens with your crypto, it's like there's nobody to call. There's no real agency that's going to help you. And a lot of it can be tracked to a wallet, but again, this whole idea of bringing back funds and stuff when people have been legitimately ripped off. And I always say, like, these hackers, if they would just, with all the vibe coding and cool things going on right today and with AI, you think they could just go ahead and make a legitimate business, given the fact that they're pretty smart on a lot of way they do things. I'm not talking about scamming people, but there's other things they're doing that just apply that somewhere else. Why do you always have to choose evil? Just choose to do something good in the world, and you could probably be rewarded and avoid jail time at some point, right? It's just, to me, it's a very strange thing. These hackers, they've gotten so good. One of the things that surprises me, and tell me if you see this, I get these people coming into your comments, and all of a sudden it's rapid fire, like every 15 seconds. Yeah. And they're scamming some meme coin or some token you've never heard about. Now I made it rich and it was great. I love your channel. I love this video. And then now explain to me how Google, who just came out with VO3, the best text to video that I've ever, it's blowing people away. They've got some of the best AI going, but they can't put the AI and figure out that these are scammers. Nobody's posting every 12 seconds these long passages like that right there. I'm like, just put an algorithm that you can see, like, is that normal? And then once you blacklist some of these weird coins, and then when you see and people on the channel that will go through and they'll delete them, I'll delete them, and you can't delete them fast enough. And it's not even easy to delete these things. But I'm like, why isn't AI kicking in over there on YouTube? Because you get all these scam comments all the time. And, I worry about somebody going, oh, it's on this channel, I might as well click on it. It's easy to get scammed. You don't want to be proliferating, scammers, right?
Yeah, I take the time to delete, but, it takes me an hour a day. You can figure every time I've got a video, and I do 17 to 24 videos a month. That's 17 to 24 hours just deleting comments. That's a huge chunk of my valuable time. And I don't know, I could be like DAI and Kimes, who have turned off their comments now. They don't even turn on their comments on their video. They stopped about, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Wonder why.
Well, I think they did it right when they took on the new sponsor, Caleb and Brown. And so I don't know if it was because they took on a new sponsor in place of Linqto, and they figured they were going to hear people say, oh no, now we got to listen to 5 minutes of Caleb and Brown instead of Linqto. I don't really know, but I'm still gonna do the work, take the comments or take the scammers out for a while, at least, as long as I can continue. I can't promise I'll always do it. Yeah, I don't know.
I try to do it, but man, it's hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Hard to keep up with all of this, and it's not just one. It used to be that you would you would delete the top comment, you just delete them all, right? So and now what they do is they just leave new comments, because they would then come in under they would respond to that comment. So you would essentially remember delete one and delete them all, but then I realized, and you delete them and ban them, and man, they're using AI or something to create new usernames, all this stuff. But even the automated bot type of auto create accounts, that should be a tip off on the AI side. But meanwhile, we're doing legitimate stuff, and I get hammered over something which should be fair use, and apparently it's not. And we get strikes all the time. It's hard to know, but
yeah. Well, I do have some really kind of on the brighter side good news to share.
I was going to ask if you had anything good to share.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about just all this negative, bad, kind of depressing stuff. I have what looks to be I'm just going to check the latest, see if I've got any current even update on day and time. I do not have a day and time yet, but looks like this coming week. I don't know. I've even said, yeah, I'll drop everything even on Monday if you want to do it Monday. I've got the Vivo Power team member, which is the company that is, this is the legit Saudi royal family
Right. Oh, wow.
announcement that is putting 125 million on their treasury using XRP. It is, let's see, what is it? I think it's 120. Yeah, 121 million that they're putting on their treasury with a kind of Bitcoin sailor model. And speaking of the Bitcoin, I'm really excited about this interview, by the way. I know one of the board members for a very long time, like back to 2019, and I didn't ask for this interview. It just fell into my lap. I'm very happy about it. The interesting thing that I was going to tell you is now it's just out of my brain. This jogged my memory to tell you one more thing.
All right, I'll just talk about this for a little bit, but what I'm starting to see is you're starting to see more people add that to their treasury. So when institutions and companies are starting to see the value, when you have ETFs coming out, people can kind of smell what's coming. And especially the ETF is a really good model, especially when you have a lot of people have 401ks in the US here, or if you have a retirement account elsewhere, and they do allow you to invest in, they're usually a basket of stocks or whatever, something along the lines, whether it's, the UK stock market or, Japan's, whatever it might be, Canada, they usually do that. The problem is that none of them embrace crypto, but the ETFs sort of like help bridge that sort of gap. So that'll be pretty exciting. And I can't keep track of them. What was the last number you heard on the ETF side? Was it 12 or is it higher than that?
Oh, I think it's closer to 20. I think it's over 17 for sure. I think the number's 19. And I think the wisdom tree is the first one to go under an official review so far, right?
Wisdom tree is the one I've seen. But I think when those all drop, man, I think that'll be a big boost, but it also helps mainstream the name a little bit more when people see that it's an option. I mean, obviously people in the community and around crypto, but we're talking about people that really don't know that much about crypto because, they've got Bitcoin ETFs. So it'll be interesting to know sort of how that works.
Yeah, I'm curious because I haven't broken it down individually, and I want to, is of those that are still pending, I don't think all of them are spot.
Oh,
right?
They're not all spot.
No, I don't think they are. I'd be shocked if they are. I think some of them are just going to be reflective of the financial instrument that is cash settled. And so what I'm looking at, what I want to look at is how many of those that are pending are spot, because that moves the needle.
Well, if somebody can research that, it would be you to know what's going on.
Well, it just takes time. It's not difficult. It's just one of those time things.
It takes time. You gotta, it's if you do the research and you figure out which ones, you're right. It's probably not all spot, which it would be interesting to know the ratio. Is it 60-40? Is it 70-30? It'd be kind of good to know. But the good news is there's just a lot of them in the pipeline. And I did have a story here about, I was going to ask you about this. I wanted to throw it up here and ask you about this. I want you to get your thoughts on this. Because since we're talking about this, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. Is that the right screen? I sure hope it is. Yeah, it looks like the right one. Okay, this one here, Ellie Terrett was talking about this, which was the big deal for ETF providers who want to offer staking. The guidance clarifies staking in the format generally not thought of for security transaction in the Division of Corporation of Finance. This Rebecca Reddick put out this really good she talked about the SEC guidance on activities involving staking, proof of stake consensus mechanisms, and as in proof of work mining guidance, SEC affirmed participation in protocol staking activity does not require registration under securities laws. Now, what are have you seen this, or what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I saw it briefly, didn't read it because that enough just tells me fantastic. Woohoo. Let's go.
That was my initial sort of thought on it too. But the problem I have with the SEC doing any of this, and apparently I'm a lone voice out there because Jeff and I talk about it, but everybody else seems to be counter. I'm like, okay, great, new SEC, new chair Paul Atkins, love it, love the direction, love what's happening. Hester Peirce is more outspoken than ever. She's super happy to see that things are starting to come together. But what I worry about is like what we had agencies with the Chevron case that was overturned, saying that agencies are no longer able to issue sort of, not necessarily to call it guidance, but they can't make stuff out of thin air. And so if you can't tie this back to a law, which we can't, if you can't go back to the 23 and 24 securities laws, you can't go back to there's no precedence for them creating this guidance. And it's just, it's great, but a new administration comes in and they delete it all. So it's not tied back to any case law that I can see, and they never tie it back. They just say, oh, well, we don't consider this to be awesome. But unless Congress acts, this is just, it's more
Wild West.
Yeah, it's Wild West. Doesn't mean anything. I love the fact that they're doing it. It doesn't surprise me that they're doing it. But they talk here, self-solo staking, no offer sale of securities. Self-custodial, delegated staking, no offer security. Custodial staking as a serve, and no offer. So this right here is phenomenal news to know that at least in the tenure of the sitting chair in this administration, the Trump administration, we know that because Jeff and I, with our NFTs, wanted to offer some kind of utility, but our attorneys said, no, stay away from it. You guys could end up in hot water. And Jeff always have this sort of mantra. We like, no jail time, no blood. We don't want, we want to stay above board. We don't want to go down. And I mean, if you're outside the US, yeah, fair game. And depending on where you are, but man, people have been made examples out of, and unfortunately it's not good. This on the staking side, it's like, oh, you're pretty much covered. All three of these, whether you're solo staking, if you're self-custodying, I think it's a good thing. But overall, I don't know what the legal precedence is for them setting these laws, other than we are pro-crypto. Yay. What about the last team that wasn't pro-crypto?
Yeah, it's a huge pendulum swing in the other direction, just as a counter to how far it swung to the left. It's now swinging really hard to the right, and eventually I think we're going to see some new legislation down the road on this, and it'll come. Yeah, it's just, it's a reaction from being so what does John say? John always says having the boot on the neck for how many so many years.
The boot on the neck, yeah. Let's see, here it is. Santiago Velez says digital assets, which is the official account for Fidelity Digital Assets. Amazing they got that. When staking yield on my ETH, right? So,
right.
So this is the other sort of conundrum too, because he's bringing up a good point. It's like, okay, great. I'm able to hold ETH in a sort of a Fidelity account, but again, because I made him, well, I don't want to get into too many details, but I got crushed on Flare because I had a good portion of my XRP, a pretty solid portion that is on retirement account. I was young buck, and I'm at the point of where I'm like, okay, I don't touch it. I've never sold it, but that company declined to get involved with it, unfortunately. So there's two big companies. I chose the wrong.
Delegate.
They wouldn't delegate. They wouldn't do any. They wouldn't allow me to accept the Flare tokens. They wouldn't do any of that. And I thought that was just, I mean, it crushed me out of a lot of money, unfortunately. So obviously I don't have it all there, but I was able to get Flare tokens, but nothing like I should have received. And this is the thing where Santiago is talking about the fact that, yeah, okay, well, great that I own, have ETF. What I don't know how he has in an ETF. I don't know if it's how it is on Fidelity. I don't know purposed it, but he's clearly talking about something he holds in ETH, but when can he do staking on ETH? Now, I don't know if a company like Fidelity is going to do something like that, because I don't know that they want the risk. Like there's no, guidance. Great. The SEC told you right here that custodial staking, fine and dandy, but that doesn't mean that Fidelity is going to actually participate.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's just we're still in that gray zone, and we'll probably be in a gray zone for a while. But speaking of Santiago, go to his timeline, check out the tweet. This is what I wanted to talk about, which I flew out of my head, but I think it's so important to bring up, because I think this is going to be a huge division in the Bitcoin community. So go down where where you see the picture of Mahler's in a Jack doing
Mahler's
in his empty closet. It's in there somewhere.
There he is.
Right there.
Yep.
Okay, just read this comment. He said, if you haven't had a chance to listen to the Jack Mahler's thing, he is absolutely 1000% going up against Saylor.
100%. Yeah, he's put a stake. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this. I'm like, because we heard Saylor at Bitcoin 2025 people asked him about that. What about your proof of reserves? Oh, we're not going to do a proof of reserves per se.
Yeah,
Whoa.
and he said that, doxing his addresses would give him an attack surface. And I kind of went in a conversation with Santiago, and I lost, because he explained to me that no, sorry, there is no attack surface. It doesn't increase his risk. It's a public blockchain. He's a public company. He has to be transparent, and he's right. And so 97% of his Bitcoin now has been doxed through the addresses by
personal or the company.
Strategy, MicroStrategies. Yeah. It's called Arkham. Yeah. Oh,
Arkham. Yeah, Arkham.
Yeah, I think they've now found 97% of the addresses that are associated.
Somebody got liquidated in Arkham. What did I see? Somebody got liquidated in Arkham. I don't know. I saw something about that.
Something with Arkham? Nah, maybe you saw something with Euler Finance, which RLUSD is on. A whole bunch of DeFi got liquidated because of an Oracle that Chainlink runs. That's a story for people who don't understand why Flare Networks decentralized Oracle with the FTSOs is so valuable to this industry, because these centralized oracles are super, super risky. And it was due to Chainlink's Oracle system that caused that big loss. But I think this fight within the Bitcoin community is going to be very nasty. Do you become transparent 100%, or do you not?
I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, you can't be out there proclaiming, Bitcoin is the god and everything else. But this is what I think Jack Mahler looks like. So this is Jack Mahler's right there. I don't remember. Yep. There was a movie about 25 years ago, whatever, called The Sandlot. And it looks like this kid grown up. This kid from The Sandlot. I mean, like, if you look at him, there's a lot of resemblance. They think he looks like the dude from Green Day, but I think he looks like Jack Mahler's personally. That's him now, obviously, but it does kind of look like him growing up, a little slimmed down a little bit. He's got that same kind of goofy hair, but it's horrible. I'm horrible, man.
Well, he's branded himself, the guy in the hoodie in the empty closet. It works for him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him, you're like, hey.
He's got a short haircut there.
Yeah, he kind of reminds you of that a little bit, but when he talks, though, I find him highly entertaining. And I laugh a lot when I hear him talk, because, look, the kid's going for it. He's out there. He's doing what he's doing. And I'm like, for 21, I think it's a good move, but you're right. There's going to be a lot of this is going to be a big point of contention, man, in the Bitcoin
Yeah.
community. And
Yeah.
I was shocked when Saylor had that answer. Like, it is kind of on the spot. You do hear that, but I was shocked that he said, no, we're not going to do that. I was like,
Well, yeah, I listened to the whole 7 minutes and 45 seconds. It's a very long answer. And a lot of what was being put out on Twitter was a condensed, shortened version, made him sound a little more less transparent. Now, his argument was, okay, I get it. You gotta convince all the custody holders also to show their addresses, and that's a heavy lift to get all the professional custody holders like a Ripple or a Fireblocks or a BitGo, to show their addresses. I don't know. I see his point, but as a public company and with as much Bitcoin as he holds, which is a huge risk to the whole ecosystem.
huge.
Yeah, huge risk. We have to demand as an ecosystem that he be transparent. Yeah.
There's a lot of love pouring in from you. Jackie shows the hearts for you. A lot of people saying great things, how much they love your channel. So very great. I can't find all the comments. There's a ton of them in here though, but everyone's
I can't see them, but thank you for anybody who puts up with me.
You can see our screen together, maybe you can't, but what I was showing on there, I can just, when I put them up on the screen, like you should be able to see in the bottom corner.
Yeah, that one I see, but I'm not monitoring any of the.
You're not. Yeah, I got you. Well, they kind of come in from here and X as well. So there's kind of this was funny. Look at this. I don't know if this is true or not, but someone said the Hidden Road Partners LP's main office is at 589 Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, so I went to go just, put it usually in Google and then you can see a street view, right? But I got sidetracked and by the time I was going to do it, I forgot. But I think that is wild, isn't it?
If that were the case, I mean, it is kind of interesting. I reposted it and said, just a coincidence. I don't know. I haven't checked it myself. I also got sidetracked by a squirrel, several of them this morning. It's always difficult when Jeff's not here because then there's more burden. We split the the burden. We all each have our own role. So Jeff is doing some family stuff today and couldn't make the show. He always drops the bomb on me like at 7 o'clock on Friday. Like, oh, dude, I forgot to tell you, I got this thing going. I'm like, well, dude, can you tell me a little bit sooner than that? Because it means I have to get up an hour earlier, even since 5:30, and the show's still 20 minutes late. So.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I could do a live schedule. That would be tough because when I get down into something, I find that I really want to, get some ingredients on. I can't stop. Yeah, I just really.
The problem is Saturdays tend to be a little bit looser for us. It's not so late. Not trying to wind down and get other things done, because we do 8 o'clock during the week here Eastern time. But Saturdays, we've done almost 2 hours, hour and a half. Jeff and I will talk forever, hour and 15 minutes, whatever. We try to keep it as best we can to an hour, but sometimes it's difficult. Here's some other additional news too. So Brian Steele, who is he's on the committee. What is he on? He's on the Financial Committee for Crypto Subcommittee chairman and Republican. He said that the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act has been introduced. Time to bring clarity to the golden age of digital assets. And I'm like, oh, cool. Let me go read it. I'm like, oh my God, that's ugly. I'm not reading that. So I put it into ChatGPT and I said, just give me an overview of what's going on here. And I guess, bipartisan legislative proposal, which means there's going to be some other Democrat sponsors introduced in the House of Reps on May 29th. Primary goal to establish a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital assets. Can we pass the FIT 21 yet? But as Money was saying in there, XRP will be classified as a security.
Money keeps bringing this up, and I think his point is one that should be carefully considered because I think it has a very good chance to bring that stick in the spokes for Ripple. I think it really is. If it doesn't get changed, I think it's a bad thing.
Why do you think Garlinghouse wants to meet so desperately with us?
Right.
Right. I mean, that's a big reason he wants to talk about that.
So can I ask what you think I kind of know maybe what you think, but what do you think about the skull?
Oh boy, I'm talking about if you couldn't step in it, and well, what shocked me is the guy that puts together, he from Bitcoin Magazine. You saw
Uh-huh.
Garlinghouse posted that?
Yeah, I did.
That's
And it was a real olive branch too. Somebody went to the,
they got an olive branch. I was like, let me see if I can find that real quick, because I'll tell you
not
what.
like, it's not like you're going to find a lot of olive branches in the middle of the
Well,
strip in Las Vegas.
yeah, here. Okay, I have it right here. Here it is. Okay, so let me say first. So let's talk about this here. Here it is right here. So there is. So what we're talking about is a skull of Satoshi. This was Ripple didn't commission it. It was built, and the artist himself. We had him on here, Van Vong. What is
Oh, did you? Did you really?
Well, we didn't have the artist on here. We had his webpage on here. It's not
Oh,
crazy.
okay.
We talked about him and everything, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea for him to come on here. But he did it in conjunction with Greenpeace. It was like a Greenpeace collab. Right. First thing I thought of was like, oh boy.
A lot of his work is inspired or, you know, kind of motivated through different donations that come from that, you know, people who feel passionately about Greenpeace. Yeah. I looked at all his other installations. His work is super interesting, I have to say.
Oh, it really is fantastic. I said the guy is a phenomenal artist, and you know what I really loved. What was really amazing to me was how incredible. Let me see if I can put this up here. Let's see.
All the parts. Did you see all the parts in all the boxes before they?
Oh yeah, so they had all the
unbelievable amount of parts.
But the way they did the images with the fog and this industrial setting is just absolutely phenomenal. The whole build out, I watched the video too. The video is fantastic. But it's
there's another picture gallery that shows all the pictures like 4 across, and
just look at that. That's insanely awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the piece, it's the way it was lit, it's the orchestration. And this is the one that I love, the Bitcoin eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You got this. There's some post-production happening there. That wasn't part of the photograph, but anyway, let's get back to our pal over here. So this is it. Like he genuinely looks happy. They orchestrated this. They knew it was coming. They set up the photo op, right? And that's David Bailey, and he's the guy that puts together. He's largely the one that was at the mic, you know, announcing people, but he's the one. The chairman of Bitcoin Magazine and the Bitcoin Foundation. So it's not like he's nobody, right? He's a pretty
no. He's a big leader in the community.
And this is what I think what shocked me also. But he says, I want to thank Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson for extending an olive branch and donating the Skull of Satoshi to the Bitcoin community. Very cool of them. And I'm thankful for their acknowledgement that Bitcoin mining is green. So that was the spin that Garlinghouse sort of talked about. But again, going back to 21 or 22, was it 23 maybe? When this was created. Now, what we don't know, and I haven't been able to discover this, how the hell did this go from a joint collaboration between the artist here, what's his name? Vong, I think his name is. What is his name? Gosh, I don't know. I'm looking for
Von Wan, something like that.
Von Wong. So how did it go from his possession and a collaboration with Greenpeace to all of a sudden Ripple taking possession of it and donating? Like I've been able to find out, what did Ripple pay for it? You know, what did Ripple acquire it for? Was it given to them? Well, like there's nothing out there what I could discover.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess because Chris Larson is active within the Greenpeace community, but maybe it was possibly one of his private pieces. It's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also want to say this. Sometimes Jeff and I are right about things way before anybody else is. And Jeff and I called Garlinghouse. We pulled up clips. We talked about he was pro-MAGA. He was pro-Trump. He was a MAGA dude. He was a pro-Trump dude. He was a conservative. He's from Kansas or whatever the hell he's from, right? He's from the Midwest. And I said I said there was enough little secrets there. And sure enough, boom, he was all in. That must be some weird contention inside of Ripple, because I've also criticized Ripple for getting on these, getting off track about things. Like when I go to a concert, great, dude. You voted for Trump? Cool. I don't need to hear about it. You voted for Biden? I don't need to. I'm here to listen to your music and stories about your music. I don't have to listen to you bloviate about a politician. And when I heard them going off on, the carbon credits, CBDCs, like the CBDCs has earned them a lot of hate, especially by the Bitcoiners. I think that's probably bigger than the bankers coin to this point. They did, and because most Bitcoiners are, either are conservative or they lean that way, and they hated the CBDC. We hated it. I hated the whole thing of it. I don't want. Why would you proliferate this something that controls? I mean, and I would always try to ask questions like, how programmable is it? And David Schwartz would answer.
I think that it does have the ability to put privacy features in, but the question is, would governments actually put that in? Probably not. So,
do you know there's a Bitcoin museum in Nashville? I did not know.
Yeah, because that's where it's going to end up.
I know, but I didn't know. I was like, oh, there's a Bitcoin, and so then Garlinghouse said, glad to be in this industry with you, David Bailey. So I don't know this has changed his hearts and minds. I don't know how you spin something that, I mean, look at it. I mean, if you look at this piece, they've got the nuclear stack.
The artist made it to bring awareness to the climate impact. And I'm not talking about a good impact. I'm talking about the bad impact.
Right. But you see, they did the Bitcoin eyes. They got it covered with circuit boards. You got all the wires flowing out from underneath. And then you got these nuclear
e-waste. E-waste.
That's what it is. It's all.
E-waste. Yeah.
So if I will tell you that this might go down as the spin of the decade or maybe the spin of the year. How did you spin something that was the biggest road punch to the Bitcoin community, somehow end up, in person with David Bailey,
and shaking with an olive branch.
I mean, if you told me this was going to happen, I would be like, there's just no way in hell this is going to happen. So I think in some levels, I'm like, how did this happen? And like, my reaction was just like, I don't get what's going on here. And I was like, we talked about it on the show. Just like, I think this is, Jeff's like, I love it. I love it. I love it. I go, dude, I'm not telling you I don't love it. I go, with the spin, dude, none of this makes sense. Do you understand? I mean, you're talking a collaboration with Greenpeace. You're talking about the whole climate change weird stuff. And it's gonna, and I've always said this. Listen, if you have, they're acting as if like this power that's being utilized is pulling away from communities. I'm sorry, we shut down half of Chicago because the Bitcoin community set up shop. That's not what it is. They're paying for electricity. Yes, it uses a lot. Most of it has been, a lot of it's been green, 50, 40, 60%, whatever. You have Bukele down there. It's leveraging the, volcano.
He's got a hydro. Well, it's the, it's like a hot spring that comes out naturally from
the volcano.
Yeah.
It sounds cool if you're saying you're leveraging the volcano power.
Okay.
But so that's why I say that. But Jeff's like, I love it. He couldn't stop saying I love it. I go, dude, look at this piece, man. I'm like, and then you saw Bailey say, well, thank you for acknowledging that 50% of it is green. So look, big props to David Bailey, man, for him to accept it. I have to give the guy a lot of credit because honestly, no, I don't think if you polled everybody, the 30,000 people that showed up at Bitcoin 2025, I don't think 90% of them had that reaction. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think 90% of them knew that it was a sculpture. I don't think anywhere did it say this is donated by Ripple. Do you think so? I don't think so.
Well,
and I don't think that they knew what the original intention was from the artist. I mean, you can't revise history. That's what it was originally to represent. I don't think anybody knew that at the time. And it is a cool piece. So people probably thought, wow, that's really cool. It is cool.
It is. It's in the photos of it. I hope they put the photos also there, like the Bitcoiners, the eyes and stuff. I hope they do some of that photographs because the way it was photographed was really clever and really phenomenally done. Fantastic artist. A lot of time and energy went into that. But I'm just curious as if anybody starts digging around like, wait a minute, Ripple donated this. What? They hate Ripple so much. So it's.
Well, I think now they've got more controversy on their hands with Mahler going up against Saylor in the way that they're going to both handle their funds and raising capital. I think Mahler's going to win. I think a lot of those people who bought with Saylor will. Well, I don't know. Do you know how freely they can move their asset over to another custody? Basically, I mean, how liquid is that to get out of MicroStrategy?
Well, also too, who's the custody provider? Do we know that? I mean, I don't think he's sitting there with some like thumb drives, locked in a safe. I mean, you're talking that.
No, if you look at the addresses, there's so many different addresses. So,
Makes sense why you would
not
have
all,
one.
it's dispersed quite heavily throughout different places, which is good. That's I think a very safer thing.
You see, that's a good strategy. I'm just saying.
And that's strategy, but I just think though that if you can get out of the MicroStrategy position and move it over to Mahler's, I think people are going to do it. What's that?
No longer called MicroStrategy. They changed the name 2 months ago.
The strategy is, somebody else brought this up. Who was it? There was another person on a YouTube. I listened to him a lot. He's been in the space for years and years and years. When you say just strategy, people don't just automatically know that it's MicroStrategy, and they think that you're just using the verb to have a strategy. And so, it's not
the company strategy, formerly known as, and that becomes way longer than just say a MicroStrategy.
It's worse than saying X, formerly Twitter.
I try so hard to get out, just say X, and it's like, even after a year and doing it all, I for some reason can't make the change. I can't make the change. What do you think about this news here? Uphold announcing the fact that they said, US, we listen.
Oh, man.
Unlock yield on XRP.
I think, again, hoist the flag, matey.
Yeah.
We are hijacking the digital asset. Arr, matey. I think Hugo is taking over this utility, and I'm of course okay with it. So why not? If we want a digital asset that has a higher price because of the simple supply and demand, all the more power to him. I couldn't believe it. And what I saw in this, which really stood out, is that it's the first exchange to do this. So what I say is that there's going to be other exchanges coming on board on the way that are going to also play in this F assets yield little party of extra money coming in. I think he's devised something that is it's not 100% risk free, but I think it has a very
it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. A very, very big, secure, well thought out, well tested mechanism for yield. Yeah, and it's not just XRP. It's going to be Bitcoin. It's going to be Doge. Doge has a huge community, huge active community. It rivals like Avalanche. I've been doing a lot of research for a company that wants to bring a product to market, and they're going to go cross chain. And so, in the EVM world, Solana, Sui, Polygon, what are my notes? Anyway, Tron, did I say Tron? Maybe I didn't say Tron, but I guess what I'm saying is that when you look at the chains that are like in the top 5, top 6, and then when you drill down into the granular communities and you see who is really active in the communities, wow, Doge is really, really ranked high when it comes to an active community. So it's going to be an F asset. Can you imagine?
I think
it's amazing.
I'm super excited. You know what I love about what I loved about Hugo and Flair? We still haven't ever talked to him, which is very bizarre, but we tried to, but maybe we'll get him back on here. But what I'm amazed by is the pivots that Flair has made, and the fact that they didn't rush anything. Like, people got so angry with the Songbird and this and that. I'm like, guys, you don't want to go to production, a production ready thing, and have something go wrong, it'll be catastrophic. I said, so, the way they think about things, the way they think about risk, the way they look at the community, the way they understand the broader scope and more future stuff, to me, like that kind of vision seems to be missing in other parts of the crypto community when I say at large, because a lot of people are very legacy focused, or but they're not thinking future. And the whole idea of DeFi, and even given an asset like Doge, Bitcoin, like just thinking about other ways to incorporate and the interoperability, to me is just like, this is a really smart team. And Hugo, obviously at the top, runs with vision, and this is why a company can grow and thrive. And Deaton says all the time, is this the sleeper? Is this the sleeper? I think it is. I think it's going to be massive on so many levels. And I think that people will be like, well, I never knew about it. I'm like, how did you miss it? It's been like, I'm like,
so they're at 100 and they just dipped down a little bit below 190 million TVL. And once they reach that 1 billion in total value locked, people are going to start paying attention, and they're going to get there very soon with these products. The liquid staking, the restaking is coming with the company that was called On the Block. They've rebranded now. They're called, Centura. They've got a very interesting free webinar that you can attend. I posted the day and the time on my thread. If you want to know more about restaking, because restaking is a little bit different than just your typical staking. The mechanism supposedly, and I'm going to learn a lot with everyone else in their webinar, is a very tested and has a lower risk. I don't know what the yields are, so I don't know what the return is. Some people say, I don't want to get in front of a steamroller picking up pennies. I love that analogy, and I understand when people say that when they talk about going after a yield. But if you really find the right mechanism and you've got a large bag of assets, it makes a lot of sense to put that asset to work. So I am always very open to all the different mechanisms out there and all the different ways to bring value to the ecosystem. And the total value lock is another way to bring value to the ecosystem. So my point is, in a long about way, is that people will really know who Flare is when they hit over that $1 billion mark in TVL.
Yeah, wow. It's just, it's a lot of impressive. I was looking at your feed here. What am I?
You're looking for a free webinar to sign up for, and it's like at 3:00 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time on, my memory serves me right, I think it's the 6th of June.
Was this something recent you just posted?
Yeah, there it is right there. That's it with the fire, with the campfire. Oh, that's an interesting story too. The fake news. Wow, we found out who was passing that around.
But this one here?
Yeah, there's a young boy from Bangladesh that had a big position in the White Rock token, and he created that fake news. That's a bummer. Everybody fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. That's cool.
Find there it is, right there. The campfire one. Yeah, right there. So restaking is coming to Flare Networks, and they've got this 30-minute Zoom. Oh, it's June 18th. Sorry, my dates were off.
Oh, at least there's some heads up about that. So let me see the links. Where's the link on that?
It should be registered to the link. It's in the Centura. Go down to right in there, in that.
Oh yeah. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna put that into the data. People want to go ahead and register for that.
Yeah, and then you can learn more about staking.
Yeah, that was previously into the block. Centura.
Yes.
Is rebrand. Okay. Rebrand. Yeah, I like their name. I like these.
Yeah, they're a very reputable, long-time, respected analytics company. They're very active in the DeFi space. They have a good reputation, smart people.
It's been an exciting year for XRPL, XRP. You know, there's a, I mean, a lot of it, I think a lot of it has to do with this pro crypto sort of a, you know, change in the US. Although it's going slow, and I mean, I fear that a lot won't happen until after the midterms, but I definitely think I made an early prediction that the Democrats are going to get destroyed. They keep doubling down on stupid. They keep going after you can't oppose issues. I had some, you know, Chris Como, who used to be on CNN, and like I find him coming more to the middle, and he'll criticize Trump for something he said, like that's not true, but this is true, but it's at least from a point of analytical. It's not from a point of like let's just oppose. He's kind of breaking it down, and one of the things he was talking about was how can you oppose tariffs? Like this whole idea with the tariff thing, if you like it or don't, look, you're paying for access to the market. It's whether you like it or not. The whole idea Trump's trying to do this is to reduce federal income tax for people making $150,000 or less. And I'm like, listen, whether he's successful or not, to me, I think it's a pretty lofty goal, right? I'm like, okay, that is pretty high. I don't have a percentage of a 98% that's going to happen. But I made the comment the other day on X, like, hey, tell me which world leader is talking about eliminating federal income tax for its citizens. Crickets. Tell me one that's done it in the past.
I think only I heard is it the state of Florida that's trying to take crypto gains away?
Florida's been talking about it on the gains, but this is just, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, on the crypto side, it's one thing, but then I had something we'll cover it tomorrow night. But Nigel Farage, who's the Reform UK, you know, kind of like figurehead there, who's been very involved with the Bitcoin community. So one of the excerpts from his conversations was like, yeah, have I been in it since 2009? No, but he's like documenting years that he's gone to Bitcoin events and digital asset things. And what he was saying with what he wants to implement, obviously the next election, and Reform UK is cleaning up in local elections. It's disastrous. 75% the take. So it's really resonating. We played a clip the other night where Jeff and I, they're just like, you know, the typical person on the street type interview. And they're talking to young people. This surprised me. They're like, yeah. And the one girl was saying 15, 16-year-olds are all Reform UK. And and the guy says, why do you think that is? He goes, I think it's the videos all over TikTok. I was like, wow, okay. But just talking about, you know, I mean, exactly opposite of the Starmer type of government. But what he was floating was a simple 10% tax. That's it.
Oh,
capital gains are
flat tax. They call that,
flat
right?
tax. You sell your Bitcoin, you sell your XRP. It's 10%. That's it, in and out. He said, if it's low enough, people will not try to skirt it. They'll just pay it and be done. Where now it's a lot higher than that. You know, I would, you know, I'd be more excited about 5 or 3% or 2%. But at least there's a vision for it, and there's very few people coming out to talk about this. I mean, on a world stage, nobody comes out and says, like, you know, if you've ever been part of an HOA, and thankfully I moved to a place that doesn't have an HOA, but no one knocks on your door and says, hey,
with one.
I'm from the HOA, and guess what? We got wonderful news for you. We are figured a way to lower your HOA payment. No, it's like a tax you pay for living in a place. And I had a home two homes ago, big ass house. Didn't know there were 2 HOA payments. Come on, 2 HOA payments?
Oh my goodness, probably
there was like
one for the sidewalks and one for the parks.
No,
or something.
it was called Mission Bay in Florida, and down in Boga, and it's a 50. It's I forget how many communities make it up, but there was a master for Mission, you know. And the other one was just like my sub community that I lived in. So it was a gated,
like the big community, and then the community within the community.
Right. I'm like, well, how far does this go down? And the funny part of that was it was a gated community where the gate was broken 90% of the time. Oh, no. And I was like, you know, I mean, I'm like, you know, I remember the one time the guy was he had owned the car dealership. So I know that world. When I was a kid, I used to work in one. You'd always leave the keys in the visor. It's just something you do. All the cars in the lot have the keys in the visor, for most part, smaller places, right? He left them both in there. He got 2 cars stolen out of his driveway in a gated community. And the gate was working at that point. So people got in. They must have targeted him, knew him, drove both of his cars out one day.
Oh my God.
So I was like, this whole idea of attacks, what they're trying to eliminate, what DeSantis is trying to do here in Florida is his thought is to get rid of property tax, and property tax is technically unconstitutional. If you read about it, you're charging, the property tax. Now you'd have to do something. He's trying to put it up for a vote. I think he wants it to be his big hurrah as he gets out of office next year, but I don't necessarily know. And hopefully Byron Donalds is our next governor, because this guy's phenomenal. We've had him on the channel. I still think he would have been a better VP. My own personal opinion. I like JD Vance. I think JD's great, but JD lacks one important ingredient, and that is what's the cult of personality. He's just a dry speaker. Where Donald's is like,
do you think he lacks a little bit of charisma? The Riz?
He doesn't have the Riz. Zero Riz, as you say. He just doesn't have it. I mean, I could listen to him talk all day, and he gave a great speech. But he just doesn't. Everything's just very monotone. Blah 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 blah. And Donalds is like a fire. Donalds is really, he's another Trump. I mean, he's been a big supporter of his, and I just have a lot of respect for the guy. I love him, I think he's presidential material. If I had to think about anybody who would be presidential material on that side of the house, the one that excites me the most is a Byron Donalds. So when he wasn't chosen as VP, I was kind of like, yeah, you took the hedge fund guy, you took the Silicon Valley dude. The guy had a great resume, but you got to have a lot of respect. Did you ever see? Hillbilly Effigy? Did you ever read the book or watch the movie?
I watched the movie when I was in Denmark visiting my friend, just on this last trip, and I had no idea. So it was a big shocker to me, and I have a lot more respect for him since I saw that movie.
Yeah, same with me too. My respect went up because he was a never Trumper in the first turn. He talked real negative, but listen, everybody has a chance to change their mind and change who they are. That bothered me a little bit, but I tell you, watch that movie and you think, how can you not have where this guy ended up from where he was supposed to end up, where all indicators would have been on drugs, alcoholic, dying at an early age, right? Checking out early age. And thank God he had his grandmother, and that Glenn Close, I thought really should get an Oscar for that performance. Yeah, she was phenomenal.
Really kept a tight ship for him. And I don't know how accurate it was in the portrayal and the story, but it also gave me a lot of respect for his wife. She stuck with him, even though in the beginning he hid his family facts, and she didn't shy away from sticking by him. And that was I liked that movie a lot.
I thought it was well done. I mean, I haven't read the book. I would imagine it's probably more detailed, but it was exciting too for him to go back and have his mother around. She's been sober, and he helped get her sober, and to have him come to an event at his hometown like that. That to me, it's just like it touches you on a level. You're like, holy cow! So that really brought the respect level up. And what's funny was when we were watching the movie, my wife and I were watching it. We're watching it. She's like, wow, this is like a really moving story. Like, I can't believe this and that. I go, do you know who that is? And she's like, I don't know, JD. I mean, what was his last name? She's like, Vance. I'm like, it's the vice president. She's like, what?
Didn't put two and two together, right?
She didn't quite connect it. And I didn't tell her before the movie. And she was just like, oh, wow. She goes, that's a whole nother level of, she goes, yeah, I heard the name, but I just didn't connect it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the current vice president. And so I just watched it recently, and I thought, what a moving movie. It's probably a better book, but it's so funny that he penned that book when he was just like nobody, and then it got made into a movie. I think, was it Ron Howard that directed that movie? I'm trying to think who it was, but a big name director, big names in the movie. I mean, and the guy that played him as a young man, obviously the older man was good too, but I thought the kid who was a young man played him very well. And they probably didn't show the worst. That was a lot worse than what was depicted in the movie too. You know, you see it almost, I don't know. It seemed like it might have been toned down a little bit, even though it was pretty bad. But
yeah, I mean, that part of the U.S. has got a lot of rough and tumble stories, and I don't doubt that there's like, you know, just the opening scene. Remember how he got bullied at the river? You know, that hook is so real. I think everybody can relate to that. And
absolutely.
yeah.
Tom Nielsen says, hey, Harry, call me next time you're in Denmark.
Yeah, I love Denmark. I was there 3 times this last like year and a half. I just
never been to Denmark.
And I actually go to their second largest city, which is not very big at all. It's on the island called Odense. And I did stay in Copenhagen a couple of nights when I was there this last time, but my best friend lives in Denmark, and so I use it as an excuse to go and hang out with her, because I just love so many parts, so many reasons why I love Denmark.
Tell you, for some reason on this channel, the only time Denmark comes up is that phrase. I don't even know who coined it, but something smells rotten in Denmark. What's that all about? Like, what does that even?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where that original phrase came from and why, but I would imagine it's something to do with a royal family scandal. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, here. So I did look it up. So here it is. The phrase "something is rotten in the state of Denmark" is a famous quote from Shakespeare.
Oh,
from Hamlet. It signifies something is wrong, corrupt, morally decayed, especially in a situation where authorities are aware of problems but choose to ignore them. So yeah, you could use that quite a bit. Line spoken in Marcellus, the member of the palace guard in Act 1, Scene 4, after the appearance of the ghost of King Hamlet. So yeah, so apparently back then, and they still don't really get to the crux of where the context. Oh, the context play setting is in Denmark, or is Denmark. Phrase used in the context where the kings. I don't remember any of this stuff. I remember how to reading all this stuff. I don't remember zero of this. I remember the character. Death is suspicious, and the current leader Claudius is behaving in a morally questionable manner. So that's why. It's nothing singling out that. It's just if it took place in Rome, it would have been something smells rotten in Rome. Just talking about the corruption of time.
Yeah, it could be anywhere. Isn't that funny how that phrase just really stuck and everybody knows it and uses it still after so many a couple hundred years? I really need to see more Shakespeare. I haven't seen enough of those. I'd like to see them live. You can go to a place in Oregon, and they do them out in the, outdoors. It's famous for having a Shakespeare festival. One of those things in New York too. Yeah, I did.
Do it in New York
when I lived in Oregon, I just didn't take advantage of it, and now I really regret not doing it while I lived there.
All I know is I was in when I was in the UK, and I was hanging out with my English buddy, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna go to this really cool, this old pub. It's like 500-600 years old. Well, the floors are creaking, has that sniff of like old and wooden and beer, pints everywhere." And he's like, "Shakespeare used to come here. William Shakespeare."
Yeah, I think I visited his house, his home he was born in.
His house. Yeah, the house he was born in, and all that stuff. I mean, it's amazing.
Near Bath, I think. Isn't it near Bath?
Yep, it's right next to Bath. Yeah, I call it Bath, but that's my, But Bath is a very cool city too. It's a nice little, especially the what do you call it? The Roman bathhouse there. It's pretty crazy. It's still all works after so many years. But yeah, that was. And then I went to the oldest pub that my buddy took me to. This is my Bitcoin maxi buddy, because remember I started out as a Bitcoin maxi 2013. I bought my first Bitcoin.
Didn't most all of us?
He corrupted me. He's like, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking at this XRP. Mate, stay away from XRP." He's like, "That's a banker's coin." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "If you want," this is what he actually said to me, "If you want to do something similar, go to Stellar. It's decentralized."
Oh,
it was weird to hear that from a Bitcoin maxi, but
yeah, well, I think we're getting more and more decentralized, and we will just, I think, keep improving on that. I do. I'm a optimist in believing in that. Just talk about ancient, really cool old cities. I just came back from Estonia because I spoke at the conference there, which was the INFTF, which
Is
is
that
a lot.
available anywhere? Did they record? Is that going to be,
Oh
recorded?
gosh. Yeah, they did record it. There's a couple of them that are up. I hope that they don't record. I mean, I hope they don't show mine. Only because I came prepared, but I didn't access any of my notes. I just winged it, and I did a little bit of some personal stories in there that I thought, oh no, this gets out into the wild. This is going to be a little interesting, but I had a great time. I can tell you that Estonia is one country that you want to visit at least once. It's tiny. It was once ruled by Denmark, once by Norway, once by Sweden. Of course, it went through the Soviet rule. It's a very, very cool old town, they call it, which is it's an UNESCO site. It's very large with, I don't know, maybe 100 buildings, maybe more.
That's
No
a lot.
cars allowed on the inside. There are restaurants. People do live in the buildings, but it is carefully maintained and protected. And one of the restaurants that we ate in was an old warehouse, and we were on the 6th floor of the warehouse, and the building was from the 1300s.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you find here in the U.S. is like, I remember when Miami turned 100, I was like, 100? What? What? It was like the weirdest thing in the world. What are you talking about? This is the one that I went to. It's in Nottingham. Yeah, that's that fabled, Robin Hood place in Nottingham Forest, which you drive by. And so my buddy took me here, and it's carved into this bedrock. So when it goes down, and it's from 960, I want to say. But what's interesting about it was the inside is wild. So you can see it's carved into the rock.
Very nice. Yeah.
So it was one of the coolest, weirdest places that I had been, and it was kind of cool in there, just because. But yeah, a really cool sort of a look. You see how it's all carved in a rock. Here's a table right there, an old table, and they got the lights that are like indented into that thing. But it has this weird, because I go like, oh, that's cool. Because if you look at the building, you think like, just looks like an old crappy building, but really.
No, it doesn't look crappy.
Well, the allure of this thing is when you walk down these stairs and you go into this like carved out of rock,
almost cave-like.
It's crazy. I guess this is probably look at that old picture right there. Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's, if you ever get in Nottingham, UK, this place is a cool place to check out, man. It's a very cool place. It's called the Old Trip to Jerusalem Inn.
Oh, so go to the go to Estonia Old Town. Just look at one picture. Oh yeah, those are the anything in the old town, just anything. Yeah, that's the square. That's the People's Square.
That reminds me of Warsaw a little bit. And parts of Warsaw have these like colorful buildings that are. So this is kind of an overview. So they all have the they have those.
A lot of these roofs that are of a similar kind of a ochre red, and I don't know. I really loved this part of the world. I really felt like it was
Old Town charm.
Yeah, I loved it.
The buildings, look at that. My gosh, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Where was the
What
was the warehouse? You remember the warehouse name?
Yeah, so it's called I think it was called the Old House. Old House or let's see. What was it called?
If you say like
people might think from the outside it's a tourist trap, but actually the food was fantastic. It was called the Estonia Old Town
Hotel warehouse dinner, but nothing pops here. Nothing at all.
Wait, let's try warehouse. Try warehouse.
And Crypto Investigator saying it was Ashland Shakespeare Festival in Ashland, Oregon.
Yeah, that was it. That's totally it.
Yeah, so that's the one. What am I looking for? What's the name?
I just said use the word storehouse because it was an old warehouse. And then
Is it
it
called,
might
is it called
up.
Old House by chance?
Old House? Was it called Old House?
I don't know. Old Hansa?
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Old
That's the
Hansa.
place.
Interesting. Okay.
That's the place.
Old Hansa. Let's put that in there. Old.
That was so cool. Every floor had multiple fireplaces. And in the days that it was built, in the days it was built, you were taxed on the size of your window. So it had very tiny windows so that you didn't get a high tax. It's very dark, real burning candles everywhere. That would never fly in the US.
Wow, really quaint looking. Look at that.
Yeah, 6 floors. In fact,
You would almost think that looked like the UK. I mean, my God, it's incredible.
Yeah, it was very good. And then they have everybody working is dressed in period costume, and they have people playing music from the time frame. It's a little touristy, but I would still say you got to do it once.
So here's a video. We're just going to watch. I'm not going to put the it's genuine 15th century merchant house where you can enjoy dishes like the Middle Ages.
15th century, so the 1400s. I was off by 100 years. And all those candles, I'm telling you, there must have been 1,000 candles burning inside that place.
Holy cow. They must have a lot of wax.
On all the floors. Yeah, it's because it's so dark.
Oh, yeah. So it's all candlelight pretty much?
Yes.
Maybe there's no sconces around there or something. Oh, they've got a little bit, but not much. Are those candles too?
Yeah, you could barely see your food, to be honest.
It is like the Middle Ages then. There's no little light. Look at that.
Our waiter had been there for 18 years. And they're famous. They serve a lot of game, if you follow me. So veal
deer,
and
venison.
Yeah, and
like you would back in the period. So interesting. Wow, what a cool little place. It looks a little tight quarters. Though. Look at that. I bet, was it loud in there? Because there seems to be a lot of people around at these tables.
No, it didn't feel too loud where we were, but then we were at the very top, and so I don't know. It didn't feel that loud.
That's what it says right here.
There's some of the musicians
Hot dishes served with game, fish, and of course delicious vegetable dishes. So that's good. My wife can eat there. It's great.
And
there you go.
Famous for their black bread. The whole country is. Yeah, black bread. Very yummy.
Okay, so I have to hang on a second. I got to jump out of this. I'm going to share this audio real quick here because you can actually hear the band playing, and man, it sounds like you've been jettisoned back to the Renaissance Festival that they have here in the States often, which is great. Let's see. Hopefully, we will hear audio. Let me know if you hear audio.
Yes. Oh, that's the end. But that's pretty much what they sounded like, and they used the real old instruments too.
Yeah, there was a shot of them. I think I passed it by mistake, but it's coming up here. There they are. I just got the turn. There you go.
I think there's a really, really tough time to live. Can you imagine though? They're a seafront, so they are going to be a place in those days that got a lot of shipments. So I can imagine if those walls could talk, all of the different goods that came around the world, probably making their way. Well, the ones coming in, making their way to the Silk Road, the ones going out, going across to places like Greece and into Europe. So interesting.
And can you imagine before? I mean, can you imagine what things tasted like back then without any sort of spices, without any sort of, I mean, that's why you know that that spice tray was so massive, because you could now take something that tastes horribly bad, horribly overcooked, and make it start tasting like something. So that's why that spice tray was so valuable back in those days. If you ate it like they really ate it, they just basically charred the hell out of it and then just ate it like that. And imagine if you get like a really gamey venison, which I've had before. I've had venison, depends how it's cooked, but it can be pretty bad. So Estonia, I was gonna find another video here, but what other kind of like what other areas or things like good takeaways did you have as far as the culture and the people?
They have a lot of for women. If you're into Baltic jewelry, there's a lot of that, and it's not too expensive. Some of it is very beautiful. The beer was not good, but I'm really, really picky for my beer. Again, I lived in Oregon, and so I'm quite picky when it comes to especially the IPAs or something that has a lot of hop. But the beer there was not that. The local beer in Estonia was not that good.
Wasn't good, no.
No,
I'm worried about beer too. I'm a kind of a connoisseur.
Coffee was good, but no Starbucks. And not that I'm a Starbucks, like I have to go to Starbucks. That's not it. But I just found it really strange that the country didn't have Starbucks.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, not a one.
But this is somebody doing a whole video from Estonia, so pretty interesting.
Yeah,
well, listen, I kept you for an hour and 40 minutes here almost. Yeah. My God. I want to let you get out of here, but man, I really do appreciate you coming in and man, gracing it. I'm gonna have to change the thumbnail now because I didn't talk about any of that stuff, which is good. I'm like glad, but because I'll I'll alter a little bit. But and Jeff did check in. He usually will check in from wherever he's at. He's like did say hello and hey to the to the community.
Good. I'm glad I got to keep you a little bit company.
Thank you. It was awesome. I love chatting, man. It was a great time. It's just good to. And way more exciting for fun for me and definitely for the audience since everyone loves you. Everyone had nothing but great comments. And we love you too because, man, if it wasn't for your research, I don't know if we'd have much to talk about some days. But I always give you, like when you do an excerpt video, I'm like, I got to credit this is Crypto Ready right here because she did all the, the editing and found it and curated it. That's why I like how you're putting curated on the videos now.
I started only because
you need to put it across the the corner can still crop out. You need to put it across the video.
That's too obnoxious. I love the fact though that you share it. That's really good. It's just what I don't like is when people snip it and share it as if they did it themselves. That's the only thing that drives me crazy.
Weak, man. That drives me crazy too. There's a guy that posts really
Coin Bureau. You guys.
Those guys are horrible.
You guys drive me crazy. One of the main reasons.
And they have a lot of bad reporting as well. They don't. I mean, I don't know where they check half these sources, but yeah, they're another. I don't even like to go to those sites anymore. You really have to break them apart and. If I can't validate in multiple sources, like there's an AI guy that I love. He puts up these great tutorials. He goes, "This is literally changing the landscape." I'm like, dude, how about a credit? Why not credit the people? Sometimes when he took the video, he reposted a video. A lot of times he just downloads it or whatever. And I'm like, and a lot of times if I know who they are, I'll put them and I'll say, "This is so and so," or hey, how about a shout out? He's gotten a little bit better, but I'm like, look, it's cool that you're curating all this cool content because people don't have time. But at least give credit. But I found a lot of because I see the title in the beginning or whatever. I found a lot of great creators that are doing amazing stuff. I'm just I can't keep up with all the AI, but AI is probably my first love, even over crypto these days. But you never know it.
Yeah,
I'm not smart enough doing the AI channel.
You're gonna get a chance to use it a lot. We won't talk about it here, but you're gonna get a chance to use it a lot. Let me tell you, I know that for a fact.
Yep, is very true statement. That is a very true statement, and super excited. I mean, what I'm doing. I mean, some of the stuff, and even it's funny if you look at the today's thumbnail, that was created by 2 images using Midjourney. It's just
I need to learn how to do it. I'm still doing mine in Photoshop. Yeah, I'm still doing old school.
Well, I will tell you the best thing to use. I'll tell you off camera, but I will tell you the best. You shared that one site with me for removing sound. Lala AI.
AI.
man.
It's
That's the
great.
best.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's the best one I've seen.
Yeah, I never have regret paying $20 a month to them. Never.
It's great. Well, I can just hook you up with something that will make your thumbnail creation 1,000 times easier, faster, better, painless.
I appreciate that. I'll do it.
I'll do that and tell you that it will be your new love, and the AI component they have there is phenomenal. So if you start exploring that, you'll be like, okay, this might be the best investment period, because it does a lot, quite a bit. By the way, Jeff uses it to create our videos and the things we do on here. So
yeah, I'm really excited to see what it is, because I just have not found the tool that I've been able to replace my old style Photoshop business with.
When you start using it, you will regret it. That much I'll tell you.
I will. I'll be talking to you. I'm going to let you take everyone out on your own, and
we'll stay on for a second, because I'm gonna just stay here, and I'll give it to you. But guys, thank you everybody. Thank you, Chris, ready for gracing your presence today. It's an hour and 40 into it. We went a little bit longer, but a phenomenal conversation. Totally enjoyed it. This is what's fun and exciting. Everyone's saying, hey, thank you. Great joining you in the live today. Really nice having you, Ari. Always great to hear from Ari. Best beers in Belgium, our area. That's true too. I love Belgian ales, man. And also they're giving us a shout out too, but now we're irrelevant. I'd rather experience that lightning at night. Yeah. So everyone's saying really beautiful things. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, but stay on. And as soon as I can find the outro, here it is. Let's see. Okay. Sometimes I played the wrong one, but guys, we'll see you on the next one. Jeff should be back tomorrow night. If not, well, you're stuck with me, probably solo, and Ari's not going to be joining tomorrow. So anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Chip and Ari out. Here we go.
Bye-bye.
Hang on here. Don't go anywhere.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.